Avec Olipo e tu malo Tao aquesto pare abri Yabosha Yabosha Yabosha.
That's right. Glory to the Empire. Hello and good evening. Deep Space Nine at 9ish, Season 6, Episode 7. You are cordially invited. First aired in 1997, but we're just getting started here on Live Long and Podcast 25 years later, almost to the day, from the time that this episode first aired on Star Trek DS9. I'm Dave Mader, joined with Kevin Millard here tonight. How are you doing tonight, Kevin?
I'm doing excellent.
That's great. Live Long and Podcast, streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, and on Twitch, or you might be listening to us on the audio version after the fact. This is where we're going to break down this episode from Star Trek DS9, talking about it as we've been on our ongoing journey for well over 2 years to watch every episode. We're in the last 2 seasons. Sometimes there's fewer. Sometimes we have a skeleton crew here, though. There's fewer of us.
Just the cream of the crop, Dave.
Yeah, just the cream of the crop. Some of our wedding invitations were lost in the mail. So, is this the first Klingon wedding on Star Trek? Is the question from Sam at the top of the show.
I believe so.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. It's not the first wedding, but Klingon wedding specifically, I would say yes. But how was this for you, Kevin, on the rewatch today, or whenever you actually watched it? I don't know if it was today. But.
Oh, I love this episode. It's a perfect palate cleanser after the last 3 episodes. Like it's fun and lighthearted and
right.
Doesn't really have anything to do with the war.
Very little. Yeah. It almost feels like the war is not even happening, even though they just retook the station in the last episode. The whole, I guess you call it occupation. I'm putting it in quotes, but I guess it was an occupation of sorts where like the Dominion took over the station. And there's a lot going on in this episode. It's a Ronald D. Moore script.
It's also the second best Alexander episode in all of Star Trek.
Yeah, well, the bar is not high. But yeah, no, it's a good use of Alexander. Like rewatching it today for me, I was like, I had forgotten how much this is a Martok episode. Like how prominent he is in this episode. And this season, right? Like since he's come on board in the halfway through season 5, Martok is as important as anybody, maybe more so.
And he breathes new life into the show. I think that's what this show has done well is if it starts to get stale, it sort of reintroduce. It's got all these characters that it can draw upon, right? And it'll introduce another great character. Whoever does the casting for this show is amazing.
Yeah, no, definitely. One thing like when Sam brings it up here is that it would have been nice to include like some of the Next Generation crew, O'Brien aside, of course, because he's already present. They brought in Alexander. I feel like that's as far as they were either willing to do or what they were willing to pay for, because those would be expensive guest appearances maybe at the time.
Well, I think the thought too back then, even near the end of this show, was that the shows should stand on their own. Like you don't want too much
of that next gen stuff coming
right
in.
Like this is Worf's life now. These are his new best friends.
Right. It's nice that O'Brien's there from the Enterprise, and they have that connection and whatever. Like obviously Picard's a very important person to Worf.
Yeah.
And where is the Enterprise during the Dominion War? We're not really even sure. We would be led to believe possibly that the Enterprise E at this time is not on the front lines of the Dominion War, because you wouldn't send your like flagship sort of into war, because if it would be an easy target for the Dominion, and it being destroyed would be like a demoralizing force. So if the war is here in the Alpha Quadrant, then the Enterprise is probably in the Beta Quadrant, scanning Romulan neutral zone things or something like that.
Diplomacy, more diplomacy.
More diplomacy. We see a little bit of in Star Trek Insurrection, where like Picard is put onto those duties of like having to negotiate new allies and things like that. Which doesn't come. Speaking of which, I would imagine that Star Trek Insurrection was in production during this time, right? Like this came out in November of 97, so they probably filmed it in the summer of 97, and Star Trek Insurrection comes out in 1998.
Yeah, so probably.
Yeah, so the reason I bring it up is because later on we're going to see the dress uniforms during the wedding ceremony, but they're still wearing that old dress uniform. They haven't gone to like that new white tuxedo looking thing that they wear in the later movies. They will bring that into season 7, but at this point they're still in that weird thing. Davan Skelhorn joining us tonight. Are you coming from X-rated Davan Skelhorn?
Oh yes, I'm just a man on the path to Kalhaya.
Of course.
But yeah, we just finished interviewing Brooks Walktell. It was an awesome interview. It wasn't live, so I'm gonna throw that up tomorrow. So
yeah, I didn't see anything come up on the stream.
We learned some insider stuff about some stuff about the animation world and the inner workings of television in Hollywood and all that stuff. Interesting stuff.
Very cool. I can't wait to hear it or see it or however you're going to edit it. But we're just talking about You Are Cordially Invited. And Davan, even though we are family, when I got married, we weren't necessarily close. And I did show you the footage of Gene and I's wedding.
Shameful.
It was shameful, you said, because what are your reasons?
I was quite upset.
Because?
Well, sir, apparently, during this beautiful, intense Klingon ceremony, there was a lot of laughter in the room. I don't understand.
People were laughing.
I don't understand this.
They thought it was all a joke.
What's funny?
Exactly.
It's
serious
joke? Tradition? Honor? Is that a joke to these
glory?
people?
Are these
I had to put a stop to that right away, let me tell you. I'd grab one of them pain sticks meant for you and Jane and turn it on the crowd.
And the other thing you had pointed out when I played you the video of when Jane and I reenacted, basically in many ways, the wedding you see in this episode of Star Trek DS9 with some modifications. And you were like, why wasn't Jeff beating you with that stick thing at the end? I was like, you're right. That was a missed opportunity. We completely forgot about that part.
Missed opportunity.
I'm sure Jeff also feels like it was a missed opportunity.
Yeah, sure. Because at the end, like Bashir can't wait to whack Worf with this thing. That's what he's been saving for the whole time.
It's like, now, no.
Now, do you think that Bashir was only invited? Do you think Bashir was only invited as a Brian's date?
Yeah, because he says like you have to invite your closest male friends, and I was like, I don't know if Bashir is among his closest male friends. O'Brien, sure, and Martok, and even Cisco, I'll give you. But I would have thought maybe some.
Yeah, I'll give you Cisco.
Yeah, I feel like they threw in Bashir just so that him and
it's
O'Brien
his closest male friends on the station.
Yeah.
Right, because we know that like he's probably closer.
Do you think in a lot of scenes we don't see Worf and Bashir end up hanging out just because they're both hanging out with Chief?
Well, they're kind of friends-in-law, so to speak. They share a
they
friend.
end up hanging out together, but really they're both just hanging out with Chief at the same time.
It's possible.
I guess that counts.
I don't know. I just haven't seen too many scenes of like Bashir and Worf doing much of anything together ever. So, like, for them to
Worf hates doctors.
Yeah, he's like, I do not like doctors. Any doctors. I think he told us
that. I do not like doctors.
Any doctors.
He hates doctors. That they're always trying to either get him to save a Romulan or trying to save his life.
I do not like doctors. Any doctors.
Any doctors. It's always my favorite.
That scene where he's like super mad here for disgracing Ezri, and he throws Bashir up against the wall, and Bashir's like, I'm an augment, I'll take care of that. And he just can't budge Worf. It's like
Worf's still stronger.
That's like the only scene they have together.
We sure did, Sam. It was a wedding, but that happened to be pretty much a reenactment of this play, except we didn't wear like Klingon outfits or anything. But this bat'leth you see over my
Klingon
head.
heads.
This was the Klingon bat'leth I used for the ceremony, which was made by my brother Rich. One more question before we jump into the screenshots from
Did
Sam.
you have real Tahar candles?
No, you're right. They were replicated, and it was a disgrace to the Lady Sorella of the house. Do any of these series talk about
Obvious fakes?
Dominion War like in Picard 7? Do
well, I mean, this is the series that the Dominion War happens in.
Right. I think maybe what he's asking is like, is anything on with
Voyager talks about the plight of the Maquis and whatnot.
Yeah.
But anything about what the Enterprise was doing during the Dominion War? Do you know of anything like in canon or semi-canon?
Oh, what the Enterprise was doing?
Yeah.
No.
Well, yeah. In fact, I have a comic book right here. They were assigned to Gorn, actually.
Oh, really?
They're trying to get the Gorn's help against the Dominion, and they sent the Enterprise to go try to lure the Gorn into their side, but instead they get there during a coup, and it gets messy.
Oh, those Gorn. It's the Gorn.
It's the Gorn.
How many brothers do I have? I have 2.
It's the Gorn.
Comic books are not.
Oh, and Riker's actually on a Klingon ship for a lot of that.
Really?
So yeah, there's that.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, let's talk about this episode more in detail. Let's go through our screenshots and maybe it will jog our memory and our favorite moments here. First off, we start off on the station. So we Kevin and I touched upon it briefly that they've just retaken Deep Space Nine after that 2-parter. It was Sacrifice of Angels and Favor the Bold before that. And so they're back and we get this captain's log to kind of start off the station. We see the banners of the Klingon Empire, the Federation, and Bajor are now proudly displayed on the promenade. People are happy. Morn's been here the whole time. He's happier. There's Federation types. Everyone's celebrated. And the captain's log kind of culminates with Sisko standing on the promenade upper level, looking down and, just kind of happy he's back in his digs, saying hi to Major Kira. She's happy. She's not talking to Dukat every morning and telling him good morning and dealing with Damar and all those things. So that's kind of like the nice thing that the show is kind of getting back to where we would expect our characters to be. And there's a bunch of things. We also find out that the Deep Space Nine in this captain's log is the new headquarters of the 9th Fleet, which is a combined Federation and Klingon fleet, not just one or the other. So anyway, Martok's here to see you, she says. And she's like, I'll go talk to Martok, but I'm just happy to be home. And she's like, I'm happy you're here too. So it's a nice little moment. And then we head inside and we get Martok, who's waiting to speak to Sisko.
You knew about this, didn't you?
You knew. And he's like, well, I had an idea,
And you did nothing to stop it.
No, he says. Congratulations.
It was my idea.
Yeah, it's I was like, you are my new boss, Supreme Commander of the 9th Fleet. And he's like, do you know?
He's mad about the paperwork.
Do you have any idea how much paperwork a Supreme Commander has to do?
Kind of amazes me that Klingons do paperwork.
Yeah, well, they have officers too. They have administrators like anybody. And a big part of being a boss is, I don't know, filing reports, I suppose.
Paperwork.
Yeah, and so Martok is now the commander of the 9th Fleet, which is based here at the station. So I like how they're setting all that up for the rest of the war. There's this whole part here where while Martok's talking about how Worf, he wants Worf to be his intelligence officer. So Worf is kind of like this, playing a dual role, serving the 9th Fleet and also the strategic operations officer of this station, I suppose. But he's the only one who can ever get enough work. But he also gets preoccupied with
he doesn't give him less Starfleet work.
Yeah, he's just like, yeah, well, Worf can never get enough work.
Jobs.
I know he's about to get married, and I really should give him like some time
he loves
off.
it.
But yeah, he's like, no, he loves it.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, it's probably fine.
It's probably fine. He'll do.
He can work a 20-hour day.
Whatever he does for me, he can also do for you, Bartok. So it's all good. He's pleased with that. He's
And
so
Jody
preoccupied
says
with
Worf serves no purpose. He serves dual purposes.
lots of comedy. Worf is especially funny when he's not on camera. He's the kind of like the brunt of the joke. Oftentimes, yeah. He gets all fascinated with Cisco's baseball, and then Cisco takes it away, and he's like, they talk about Alexander too a little bit. He's like, Alexander, he's a nice kid and everything, but he's not much of a
He's a fine
great
boy.
soldier.
he's a nice boy, we find out, so we get
Eager.
this whole thing, this whole scene here where we see it's Alexander drinking with Dax and Worf, and Alexander and Jadzia have never met, at least on screen that we've ever seen. So this is like the first time his new stepmother is coming into the picture. This is a big deal, and he's telling this story about how he screwed something up where he, something that we haven't seen on screen, where he flooded like the compartment with superheated gas, and he's kind of like the village idiot of the Rotaran.
They treat him like a good luck charm.
And good luck.
Yeah. We find out in this episode, Alexander can barely say his name in Klingon. It's curious that he joined the Klingon Defense Force. It really is. But
it's a bold move, man. It's a crazy move.
Yeah,
definitely a Worf move, though. He's definitely Worf's son.
Oh yeah.
This version of Alexander gets slagged too much, I find. He's actually
I love this version of Alexander.
He's better than the kid version we had on Next Gen for sure.
Sure.
Yeah, and it's a nice kind of moment here. I feel like they could have done more with Alexander and Jadzia and that whole dynamic, but he explains that he's getting transferred to another ship and he's not going to be around as much. Even earlier on, Martok's killed. Even though Martok's the commander of the 9th Fleet, he's going to still, much like Worf, keep his quarters on the Rotaran, so he feels like he's in a war. Do you really need to feel like you're in this war? Like, it's pretty brutal.
If you're a Klingon, though, that's what you live for.
Yeah, except if you're losing, which they have been for a good part of this. But now they've started to kind of make a comeback here, the Federation Klingon Alliance. Anyway, so he goes off to go get some more wine when he explains this, and then this Quark shows up and he makes this crack about how he a good-looking kid must get his looks from his mother's side or something like that, just to like throw shade at Worf like he always does. But he also pitches like, hey, you guys should have your wedding here. And Worf's like, won't have any of it. Worf wants like, we're getting married on the Klingon. We're getting married on Kronos. It's going to be a big deal
after the war.
Then after the war, and Jadzia is looking on at Alexander saying like, let's do it now. Let's do it while he's here. You don't know, you may never see him again, or you may not for a long time at least, right? So let's
Jadzia's thinking that could be like 10 years from now.
Well, she doesn't know how they don't know how long the war will go.
She doesn't know.
Nobody knows, right? Like how long this will last.
It's a pretty open-ended date.
Yeah. And so she says, we'll do it here. And Worf, she has to convince him a little bit, but not too hard. And ultimately, she turns him around here, and they're going to do the wedding. And
I love that Quark is like, oh my god, Quark is so excited, and Worf has never says his name during the entire show.
He calls him the Ferengi bartender at best.
It's true. He definitely never says his name.
He never says his name. He calls him that Ferengi.
The Ferengi.
What is he doing here? And all these things. Yeah. It's so good. And so Worf basically asks Alexander to be his best man, which I think is a nice moment here. A sword bearer of sorts, and that they're going to have the wedding. Great. Yeah. Alexander's pleased. Everyone's happy. And they're going to do it. And then Alexander knocks over a bunch of drinks or whatever at the end of this cold open, and Quark's just like, that's going on your tab. I'm charging you
Worf's
for all
just
that.
like, he is not really my son, is he?
Yeah. I'm waiting for the DNA test. But all you have to do is look at those forehead ridges to know he's exactly Worf's son.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, that's the opening. That's where we're getting off to a start here. and you were cordially invited. Then after the credits, we get Dax explaining to Kira about how sentimental Worf is with the wedding, and how he's been dreaming of this, and he grew up raised by human parents, so that's probably playing into it. Kira, being very much true to Kira, is kind of like, why do you want to marry this guy? What's up? What's going on? But she's along for the ride. And they're talking about it, and then there's this other plot in the episode, which is about Odo and kind of trying to undo some of the damage to his character that I think was done over that.
Oh, they destroyed his character.
And I don't think that this does enough to bring it back.
I wish I was here last week, because he is, after all those 3 episodes, he's irredeemable. The only reason he turns back is Kira. Not even all of his friends. He was like, well, I'll be a little sad, but I mean,
barely.
I'll have the link.
Right. And there's all this reconciliation here that ends up, it comes later in the episode, but basically him and Kira talk all night in Jedzier's closet. And that's, we don't get that conversation. So the makeup and like sort of the forgiveness is very like yada yada, to use a Seinfeld term.
Well, that was going to be a hard script to write. Like to redeem his character.
I just think like what
tough lines to come up with.
I think they took his character too far in those episodes, especially in, was it Favor the Bold? I think where he lets Rom get arrested or whatever, and everything else. That's kind of like the really dark moment of the show. And so Jedzier, it's like, and a lot of the Starfleet crew who weren't here are trying to get the information, but Kira's like, she doesn't want to throw Odo under the bus. How much of this is ever explained to them of what happened? It seems like it's kind of not really there.
Yeah.
Also, just we have Ronald D. Moore. Jake was around. He's a reporter. Ronald D. Moore
wrote. He's irritating.
Yes. Ronald D. Moore.
I'm here to end all the Jake slander. He's great in this episode.
Yeah.
Hey, watch it.
Jake is great.
All right. The next scene is all about Worf getting the bachelor party, the road to Kalhaya together, where he explains this. This is the greatest con in the history of Star Trek, where they're like, is this like a bachelor party? And they're all excited,
It is a similar ritual.
Greatest con ever, because they're all like super pleased, like this is going to be the greatest thing. Is it Martok who's like, you don't even know.
You cannot imagine the experience that awaits us. 4 long nights filled with song and fellowship. A time of unbridled pleasures.
A time of unbridled
pleasures.
Yeah, and then, so
sweating and resisting food.
So I like to our earlier point, like Bashir is probably the least close to Worf of this group, and I think only agrees to this because he loves the idea of getting 4 days at a party, but it's very much turned around, and he makes O'Brien miserable in the process. But they don't want to let down Sisko because Sisko is present, and Sisko's like, "We're gonna do it, we're gonna observe this culture and respect it." And they're all pleased. And then at the end, Sisko is talking to Martok. He's like, "What's Jadzia gonna be doing?" "She'll be on a different journey," he tells her, "with my wife, the Lady Sarala," who we get to meet in the very next scene. Glorious, isn't she glorious? And she shows up here.
Magnificent.
She's magnificent, isn't she? What is
My deterioration is proceeding apace.
I thought you would be in your grave by now.
I shall endeavor to die this year, if possible.
That's one of my favorite lines in the history of Star Trek.
Yeah,
it is. So this episode has a lot of them, actually.
It's such
to die.
It is such a good script. It is such a funny story, and Martok especially is a star in this episode.
Oh, yeah.
I love the lady. So is she, and I don't think we ever get her beyond this episode. Although she does come back in Star Trek Online.
No,
which I know is not canon,
of course.
But, yeah.
I just like that. Like, how long has it been since they've seen each other? And the first thing she says to Martok is just like, "You're fat and your hair has gone gray." It's not even hello.
It's
and
great.
Why aren't you dead?
Why? I thought you'd be dead by now.
Yeah, why are you dead?
Everything's great about her. She's awesome.
Piece of work.
Yeah. I wonder if she was like, because we never like got much of the fallout. It was the first Martok we meet is the changeling Martok, and we never really get much explanation about was she sleeping with the changeling Martok, and they also have a son, right? We met him in like The Way of the Warrior. He's
disgraced and we never see him again.
Yeah, he's never disgraced. But what I especially love about Sorella's costume is that she's got this whole House of Martok sigil here, which when it's on like the Klingon like military uniform, it kind of doesn't look like much, but on hers it's all like colored in and different. So it's kind of it's neat. And that's like the crest of a house or a great house.
The mistress of a noble house.
Yeah. So she's giving him shit, and then she says like, "Hey," he's like, "Hey, here's Cisco." She's like, she kind of just gives him like the whatever, and I'm gonna go deal with this Jedzia Dax. That's what he's off to do, and he's like, "Good luck, my love." You know, he's like, "So good, isn't she?" And Cisco's like, "I don't know what the hell you're talking about."
I love the look Cisco's giving him. It's just like. What is he trying to say?
Now I know why you like war.
So many things in that look.
Yeah, it's so good. I especially like. I love the chemistry with these two, with Cisco and Martok.
Oh, yeah.
It's great. The next scene is this whole thing with the candles, where he's like, "Are these real?" Whatever candles, Klingon candles. She's like, "Yeah, I went to Kronos and I killed Targs and I made tallow and I
melted his shoulders into tallow."
Yeah, and then I formed it into a candle and whatever. And he's like, "Whatever. I'm just asking, man." You know. But he turns out to be right because Sorella enters and she's like, "What's he doing here?" You know, and he's like, "I don't mean to, offend you."
No offense. She's just like, "Well, then leave."
Yeah, get out.
Then leave.
Get out. Yeah. So he's out of there, and then she's like, "What's up?" And she's the beginning of this relationship. I feel like they could have taken this even further. This storyline is great between Sorella and Dax. She's the overbearing mother-in-law, which is great in this storyline. And she's like, "Hey, if you couldn't make real candles, then don't even bother." She notices that they aren't real, and she leaves. And Dax is not feeling too good about this. She'll blow out her 16 candles if she feels like it. So on the Ratara, and this is where Worf's like, "I didn't know that your wife was such a pill." And and Martok's like, "Well, she's got issues or whatever." And
maybe you should talk to her. He's no,
don't be none of that. He's like, "Yeah, my wife doesn't really like non-Klingons and doesn't think they should join the family."
That is a prejudiced, xenophobic view.
Yeah, and I
love it. Then Martok goes, "We're Klingon."
Yeah, I got the clip.
We are Klingons. We don't embrace other cultures. We conquer them.
Right, and this is the best part where he's just like, try to get under Worf's skin here, and the whole where is it? Here,
she doesn't really like you either.
And they say that you have no sense of humor.
It's so good. Oh yeah, and I forgot. I did pull another clip where he explains the whole. Yeah, she doesn't like you either.
Doesn't like you either.
Where's my Martok and Worf clip here?
He's just like, but don't let that bother you.
Yeah.
The truth is, she doesn't like you that much either. Don't let that bother you. I had every right to bring you into the family. And she's accepted the fact that there's nothing she can do about it.
How comforting.
Martok's one of the funniest characters ever.
Oh yeah,
He's so
like
funny.
especially when it's being written by
Ron Moore was
bye guys, I gotta leave early tomorrow. He gives this a 10. Okay, well hey, there you go. Dennis May saying Klingons are like the Normans in the Middle Ages in England and Normandy. Yeah, for sure. Like they're based on like the old feudal lords, you know, but in space. And they're carrying on that like, tradition for sure. Anyway, so the Path to Kalhaya starts next here in the Hollow Suite, where it's like this cave with torches and fire, and you know, they're mostly wearing like civilian wear with like this robe thing they wear. They're trying to find out from Alexander what's going on, but he explains he can barely say his name in Klingon. He doesn't know. So Worf and Martok are the only ones who understand. They hand out these stick things where they're going to attack the bride and groom after the ceremony is explained. And you know, he's like, Martok's like, it's a ceremonial attack. It's symbolic, you know. With everything else, but you have to keep these, and like the whole ritual is being explained. Alexander take a big old bite out of a turkey leg here. He's like, "What do you mean I can't eat it? It's there to tempt us. You know, we must. This is the first of the 6 trials, guys. Where's my Worf? Yeah,
There are 6 trials we must face on the path to Kalhaya. This is the first, deprivation.
What are the other 5 trials?
Blood, pain, sacrifice, anguish, and death.
Sounds like marriage, all right.
Yeah.
No. Bashir says sounds like marriage, all right. Notice O'Brien doesn't disagree. He just says, how would you know?
How would you know? Just wants to. He's more perplexed by the whole thing.
Anguish.
Why are you, yeah, the 6 trials, guys. Yeah, it's yeah, it's like the greatest con ever. Yeah, it comes. There's more to this, but in between, we got the scene here with Quark and Jake, where he's like, "I just sold my first novel," and Quark's all happy with him. He's like, "Really?" He's like, "No, it's a figure of speech. It's, you know, the Federation. I'm human. I don't need money." And he's like, "Well, then the first drink's on me. Then, you know." And he's like, "Really?" He's like, "No, it's a figure of speech." It's like Ronald D. Moore wrote a really good script here. We should totally do this as a radio theater one day, because this script is so fun. It's got so many great little scenes and so many different characters kind of overlapping like this.
Early petition for Martok.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I know that'd be the coveted role for sure. Yeah, and friggin' Alexander passing out from the heat in the holosuite, and like all the humans present are like, hey, maybe we should turn the heat down a little for Alexander, you know. You know, whatever. It's pretty hot in here, and you know, I couldn't help but think of myself when Martok says,
"The whole point is to push yourself to the limits of your endurance."
Yes, you must push yourself to your limits.
Alexander's so good here, though, man. Just stoke the fire again.
Yeah,
I want to travel the entire path to Kalhaya. Stoke the fire again.
As you wish.
Of course, Worf, no concern at all for Alexander. He's just like, yes,
finally. Yeah. Oh, and you know, this is where we get hey, oh yeah, and like he's like, who's hot? And Brian's like, I like the heat. Like that was like one of the best lines. And we get I played a little bit on the countdown here, but you know.
Avec olico etuche malo taoa esto padeari yabosha yabosha.
Now, do you notice though that Martok and Worf don't seem to suffer all that much during this whole thing?
No, they think it's great.
They're having a great time.
Yeah, they're having an awesome time. They're starving for 4 days, and
for Martok, none of it's a con. He's actually sincere when he tells.
Oh yeah, no, because he knew what
Like,
he knows what to expect, but Worf explains nothing to them, right? Like coming in, like the
No.
whole fasting 4 days. I think that's something you should have covered in the meeting, in the preliminary meeting. Not sprung on them in the holosuite when Alexander's holding a turkey leg, and getting ready to chow down. Meanwhile,
4-day fast.
4-day fast. Jadzier's
A
alive.
short time, I know.
But she's
But we
like,
must make the best of it.
she's doing like the rituals here, ladies. Like Lady Sorella playing like an early version of Pai Mei, almost like making her go through all like these like challenges, like in Kill Bill.
She's like, if you can't set the braziers down properly, then get the hell out of my family.
You're very clumsy. They're not perfectly spaced down.
Yeah, pretty sloppy.
And like when she came in, like when they first met, she's like, "You'll never be able to meet my standards. You're an alien. Like a Klingon woman would have a hard time. You forget it."
Yeah. I love that she says that. Like, you wouldn't make a Klingon woman do it 3 times. She's like, I wouldn't have to. She would have done it right.
She'd do it properly.
Oh yeah.
Did we also skip where she's just like, well, I like a challenge. She's just like, I will not accept a challenge from the likes of you. And she's just like, that's not what I meant. Well, if you can't say what you mean, say nothing at all.
Yeah, just like you are not winning her over.
That's when they first meet. Yeah, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, it's great. I'm trying to this actress is called Shannon Cochran. She's
great.
She played have you ever seen The Ring, like the horror movie?
Yep.
Sure.
She played the mom, the one that is the mother of the villain, I guess, like the crazy girl. She's in that video quite a bit, like the little video in The Ring. Anyway, that's neither here nor there, but I was just kind of like, what do I know her from? Anyway, so this ongoing rivalry between her continues and is getting more thing, and she gets Jedzier doing it again, holding up the water buckets or whatever. Hard to impress her. Anyway, and then the very next scene is like Jedzier like doing like this retelling of like the family history, going back to like her 23rd great grandmother or something like that, and like going through Shanara, who was like a daughter of an emperor. But then she's like, well, actually, she wasn't, because they were all killed and then replaced by this other family and whatever. She's like, my grandmother was an imperial daughter. She's like, well, actually, she was the daughter of like a concubine.
No, she was a concubine. She was the concubine.
She was the concubine. Yeah, she was a concubine, and who to assume the name, and that's who you're descended from. But you want to believe you're an imperial. And she's like, you will tell people. They're just like, we're the House of Savoy, Davan. You will tell people we are the House of Savoy.
Exactly.
Like, well, we also find out about like that the Klingons briefly had democracy in this whole like retelling. Like that was the Dark Ages. That's what modern historians call the Dark Ages. It was so funny. Like, this is such a great script.
Well, they mentioned that in Enterprise too, and then like eventually just military culture takes over.
Yeah, like also played by J.G. Hertzler in that episode. The advocate Kolos he plays in that episode for Archer. Yeah, talks about like we were a great society not that long ago. So they kind of have these ups and downs in Klingon culture. Next scene, we got Jake Sisko and Kira Nerys in the promenade, where he was like, what's he want? He wants to come to Jedzier's bachelorette party. I think that's what he's pitching here. And she's like, well, I guess you can come. And,
I love that Kira's just telling people they can go.
Yeah. The second of this awkward Odo moments, and her avoiding him, and again them wanting to know what's going on. They spot the road to Kelhaya is that they're on, and he's like, well, what about same thing that Quark says to him earlier, like Klingon bachelor party, use your imagination, right?
And it's perfect. Kira's face after he says that is perfect. It's like as if Quark had said it to her himself.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he's just like, get out of here, you suck. And and then this next trial is the blood trial. They're like, what do they say about that? Like, let the blood flow.
Oh.
let the blood run free out of our veins or something. Like Martok and Worf are getting prepared here, and they're like, who's gonna be first? And they push Bashir, who's like falling asleep.
Yeah, they all back
instead.
up. And
They all
they're
back
like-
up. Yeah.
He's like, I did not expect it to be you, Doctor. It will only hurt for a moment, you know. Oh my gosh, that's a big
Like
night.
he's even being punked by Alexander. Bashir's he's such a tool.
Oh, this is so good.
oh, you know that you've gone downhill
Oh,
when
yeah.
Alexander's getting the best of you.
Oh yeah, and Martok loves this moment. He has like a great like, you know. It's awesome.
Let the bleeding begin.
Yeah, let the blood flow. Okay, then we get the Dax bachelorette party, if you want to call it that. Yeah, it's interesting. It's got this like, is he Fijian or something like that? Like South Pacific island dancer guy.
Probably Hawaiian.
Maybe Hawaiian, yeah, like Polynesian perhaps. And there's some interesting dancing going on at this party. A lot of shaking and kind of. It's kind of like Ferengi Thriller.
Ferengi dancing?
Yeah,
Weird.
it's odd. Yeah, it's actually a dance you can buy in Star Trek Online if you want it. And do it all the time, which I have, of course. But-
He's like, I was doing it before we started the podcast.
yeah,
That's how he was warming up.
Yeah,
it's like lemon face, lion face. You know. So,
this fella's from the Sutherland, I think, isn't he?
yeah, and
They say
she
shit.
he mentions she mentions Captain Shelby owes me a favor.
Yeah,
Yes.
Elizabeth Shelby from
they'd
the
be a
Enterprise.
cool team.
Yeah. Yeah, I would have loved if like she had made a cameo or something. She showed up in Lower Decks later on, but yeah, she's this captain of the Sutherland. Lita is very taken with Mr. Polynesian Hawaiian island dancer man. As is Dax, you know, and this is also where Jake's like pressing Quark, but you're jealous that she's marrying Worf, you know, and they kind of continue this on even after Jezir dies. That Bashir and Quark both pined for her and never were able to get her, but Worf was, and I don't know.
This is one of the great Jake scenes.
Yeah, he's like,
I think I love his little
no.
figures.
Oh no, it's a great moment for Jake, but I don't know if I like the storyline in the show that much, especially with Bashir and it with Ezri later down the road. But it's kind of like whatever. And he's like, "You want to give us a?" He tries to be like a reporter, and he kind of, you know.
When did you find out you had these feelings for Dax?
Yeah, I like how he says it in earshot of Dax. Who's literally right in the background.
She's right there, yeah.
She's like right there. Anyway, and then we got the fire pit here that Bashir and Brian are like hanging from. They're hanging from a rope and they have shackles on. I guess in case they fall or let go. So. Those are like the safeties. Yeah. And he's like, I had a vision.
There is no escape. Even letting go, you're still going to hang there in the fur.
Yeah, your feet will just be hotter. Yeah, he's like, I had a vision. I'm going to kill Worf. He's going to kill Worf. Yeah, they get so happy. That they're
like, no, seriously, I'm going to do it.
No, yeah, I got it.
I'm going to kill Worf. Chief's just like, kill Worf.
Kill Worf. Kill Worf. Kill Worf. Yeah, back to the party here. Morn and this bowling getting into it, or they're chest bumping or something. Lita's up on the table.
The bowling gets.
Sorry, you're breaking up a bit there, Davan. Repeat.
Oh, I said it's not a party until the bowling gets there.
Oh yeah. Well, and Lita's dancing on the tables, doing some sort of something. She's moving and shaking it. And here we got
Dabo.
Dabo. Nog doing his little whatever the hell it is, dance. He must have got tired. I don't know how many times they probably filmed this scene, but if he was constantly having to do his little dance. here in the front. You know, and then like this is like we're getting noise complaints, and there was a fight, and apparently the bully and the Morn did have a fight, but it was broken up. And Kira's like, well, I don't care about the complaints because I'm like the first officer and I can kind of override that. And he's like, very good. She's like, then we should talk and get into stuff. And he's like, here, okay. And then he's like, tells his deputies that he brought here to break up the party, to join the party.
Yeah, go have fun. Wait a minute. Aren't they on duty?
Are they on duty? Not anymore. Yeah. So they go off, and I guess this is where like Odo and Kira go off and into the closet together. All for
Odo
hours.
sucks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Odo
So
kinda
the
sucks.
party continues, and more of this fire dancing guy doing his thing. They really liked him in this episode. He's like, thanks for getting me off duty. Mentions Captain Shelby. And what do you want me to do? And she's like, be my eye candy or something like that.
And maybe more.
And maybe more. You know? Some looks here. But this is when Sorala shows up and calls her a Ryzian slut.
The greatest
As you
moments
do.
in Star Trek.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's like, I'll handle this. Yeah, she's like, we are doing the ritual. There's time for whatever ritual's next. And she's
The
like,
Brainar.
The Brainar, yeah. And
Time
she's
for
like,
the
no,
Brainar ritual.
you will come with me. And then like so you see like Quark and some of the others start like backing up Jedzia and like behind her here. And she calls her an old hag or something like that. And she like pulls out a knife, you know, and she's like, what?
Duck
Tog, yeah. Knocks her out, and there's this kind of like she kind of goes off here, and Jedzia kind of knows not maybe her best moment.
It's funny with Worf later. The Worf's like, she said you attacked her. She's like, she pulled a knife.
She did.
Like,
Yeah, she's like, well, anyway, let's
he
get back
just
to the
ignores
party.
that. He's just like, whatever.
Yeah, she's like, let's get back to the party. More Nog dance. All right, let's get into it. And Quark and Jake's reaction here is just great. You know, this is weird. What the heck's like? This can't be good. More of this, and then like there's kind of like the aftermath of the party. What are these ashtrays? What are these like?
They look like ashtrays.
They look like ashtrays, yeah, but they look like they've got gum in them.
Like,
yeah. I don't know what they're for. Yeah, there's a couple Tongo cards and whatever. Anyway, so Jedzia is going to nurse off her hangover with some Raktajino double sweet. Morn and the island dancer man are peeling themselves off the floor the next morning. You know, she's like, I think time to go. And they
My
kind of
favorite thing about this scene is Morn leaves with a drink. They're all hungover, but Morn's still got a drink.
Yeah, he does, doesn't he?
He's got two stomachs.
Yeah, he does.
I mean, one's full of latinum. But...
Yeah, and he's here to talk to her about everything. She pulled a knife. You know, he's like, well, I think you need to go and like, you know, smooth things over and whatever. She's like, wait, do you hear something? And then she kind of goes over and she finds Odo and Kira. I love Worf's reaction, just like, what the hell? They're here now.
He's
you know,
no, he's not even. He's just not surprised by anything at this moment. He's like, fuck. Okay,
yeah. Damn it, you know. And they're like, oh hey, like there's like a hug here, and you know, he's like, hey, can we not like talk about this thing? And he's like, you need to go to her and beg her for forgiveness, basically. And she does not take well to that. You know, I don't beg. Terry felt amazing in this episode, but in this scene in particular. And you know, she's like, why don't we just like go to like the office and we'll get married by Benjamin and we'll all be great. And he's like, well, that's what you think. Like, maybe we should get married at all. And maybe you're not right and whatever. And she's like, whatever, I got a hangover. So see you never.
That's the saddest part about her leaving the show for season 7, because by this point she was just so good at playing that character, and it took her a little while to get there.
It's such a great tragedy that she leaves this show when she does, and that this story ended. If Jeff was here, he'd be completely disagreeing with us, but he's not here, so whatever.
So he's wrong.
So he's wrong.
He's not here.
Yeah, that's the way it is, Jeff. Anyway,
Yep.
I love the whole thing when the wedding's off. The only ones excited about it are O'Brien and Bashir, because the banner's coming down, and he explains the whole thing that there's a big fight, and like O'Brien's like, well, you know what that means? Food. They have no concern. They're starting to like take things down.
Well, they're gonna kill Worf. Now they don't have to kill him.
Yeah, they're happy with that. And then Martok showing up to talk to Worf. You have erred. He's like, yeah, maybe I screwed this up pretty good. Huh? He's like, she's like, Dax is like nothing like the woman I thought I would marry. He's like, do you think I was gonna marry Sorella? I didn't think I was gonna marry her. She sucks, but I love her. This speech she gives about her is great.
Yeah.
She's arrogant and prideful and doesn't share my bed enough and
shares my bed far too infrequently.
Yeah, for my taste.
For my taste.
Yeah. So funny. Yeah. But by the end of it, like Worf is like, okay, I need to try to make this up or try to make this right. And the whole thing with the food here, where of course Quark, and I did pull this part with Quark giving this whole amount of food here to the guys because they're getting ready. What does somebody order when they haven't eaten for 4 days?
1 double Altair sandwich, no mustard. 2 bowls of linguine, Bajoran shrimp with extra cheese. 1 loaf of mapa bread.
Quark, where's the kava juice?
They're still squeezing the roots, unless you want replicated.
We'll wait.
What do you think you're doing?
Those Bajoran shrimps are pretty big, guys. Like they're like sizes of chicken breasts. But anyway, yeah, they were just about to take a bite. What do you think you're doing? The wedding's back on. Worf is apologizing. It's all good,
No food for those on the road to Kalhaya.
No food for those on the road to Kalhaya. Yeah, it's so
And
good.
no refunds for those on the road to Kalhaya either.
No.
Oh yeah.
No refunds for those on the path to Kalhaya as well. Sorry.
But Worf shows up, says, I tried to apologize, but she doesn't listen, or she didn't work. And so Sisko says, I'll go talk to her. I like how he throws like the stick at Worf. He's like, I got hold my drink, basically.
I'll beat you with this later.
I'll beat you with this later. Don't worry. And Jadzia is arranging her stuff or whatever. And Sisko lays it on here great in this scene where he's like, hey, I got news for you. She starts off by saying, I used to be Curzon Dax. I used to be the ambassador to the Klingon homeworld, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, well, guess what? You're not Curzon. And just because you carry the memories doesn't mean that Sorella gives a shit. And, everything he says, I think rings pretty true. You knew when you got involved with Worf, you were going to have to pay this woman her due when you agreed to join the house and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, well, this is all Worf's fault. And I like how imperfect Dax is because I think often in like these kinds of storylines, it's usually portrayed that, I don't know, the man would screw this up. But in this case, it was the opposite. And it was I thought refreshing.
Well, they wrote her perfectly too. Like in that scene with when she's doing the saga, like she just seems like this petulant child during doing that, right? Like,
exactly.
Bringing all that stuff up. Like, what's the point? Just say it the way she wants you to say it and then get married.
Right. Exactly. And get through with it. But
and to be fair, Dave, it was Keiko that almost ruined the O'Brien's wedding.
That's true. I had forgotten about that. Yeah, so maybe Star Trek links too. It's often the woman who has cold feet in Star Trek. It seems, or it seems to be like often the trend. Because B'Elanna Torres wasn't gangbusters to marry Tom Paris either.
Well, most Tom Paris.
Yeah. Anyway, but great acting in this scene from both Terry Farrell and Avery Brooks. I like that she's like, where's that young ensign I used to know that used to ask me for advice, the one with hair. I grew up, he says. And Really nice. Great moment. And I was like, there's only like 5 minutes left in this episode at this point. Like the wedding part is very quick. You know, so they got these Klingon drums coming in, and like I didn't pull the whole speech, or I didn't pull any of these speeches really, but I know it quite well, you know, telling the story of the two Klingon hearts, how the gods created this Klingon heart. Also,
and then they killed the gods.
They killed the gods that created them. Also, just want to point out these dress uniforms that they're wearing are the old Next Generation dress uniforms. I kind of mentioned this in the beginning, that they don't have that new white version that they're going to get in Insurrection. But you know, that would have been cool. Is Sisko wearing like a belt?
Yep.
That's an odd thing too.
The admirals wear belts. So
yeah, that's an admiral's belt on a dress. That's a very and it's weird because they're wearing like these things over top, like these like little, I don't know, things. Anyway, so that's a little observation, but I love the whole the speech here, bringing everything together with like how this Klingon origin story that we had never really heard before, you know, and seeing it all play out. The costumes here in both Worf and Jadzia, amazing. Although I don't know, like something that's never seemed quite right about Jadzia's dress. Maybe it's the gloves. I don't know.
No, it's O'Brien's smile when she walks by him.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's like a big grin, you know.
Yeah, he's like, oh yeah.
Is it the boobs? Is the fact that she's got that cleavage going on? I don't know.
Bashir's like, I can't wait to hit Worf. O'Brien's like, I can't wait to hit that.
The only thing I didn't like is because this whole thing, like, we never really see the reconciliation between Jadzia and Sorella. Like the fact that it kind of goes right to this ceremony, you would imagine that there was some kind of a makeup scene here between Sorella and Dax that we never get to see. But
I'm thinking maybe there wasn't.
Maybe there wasn't. Who knows?
I think we did see it at the wedding.
Is that where they made? Is that where they made up? Yeah.
I
think so, because Jadzia looks surprised.
Yeah.
Like, is she gonna hit me? She comes in for a hug, and Jadzia's just like.
The other thing that really, when I was rewatching this today, made me smile was like how Alexander comes in here with the bat lefts, and it reminded me a lot when Eamon showed up during Jane and I's wedding with the two bat lefts. It was kind of a very similar moment.
I feel like it would have been funny though if Alexander had dropped them.
Good luck charm. That's why she dies. But anyway, yeah, just like the whole thing. We joined together. No force could stop us. This ceremony is amazing. I love it. I love how it's narrated and the lighting, the costumes, the crowns. It's also great. I'm not gonna spoil it by thinking about how she dies at the end of the season, but it's
well, then
so
stop saying it.
I know. It never happened. You know, it was a great moment. I love Quark here, who's just like, this sucks. You know, not just that Jadzia's getting married, but he just thinks this Klingon story is stupid. You know. Anyway, they exchange their vows.
No profit in it.
No profit. Kiss. Great moment here, and they're all this whole like Bajoran clapping.
I hate it.
Just smack your hands together, you know. This is how Bajorans clap.
Ferengi clap weird too.
This is where they were like, do we get to hit Worf yet? Do we get to hit Worf yet? Not yet. Patience, Doctor. There's this, you know, you have to have Sorella and Dax actually have this makeup. Come on. When do I get to hit Worf?
I love that it's all that Bashir can think about. Like, through the whole thing, like, when do I get to fucking hit this guy?
he's so itching to go too, you know.
Well, they still haven't eaten. He's like, you have to fast right up until the wedding, so they still haven't eaten.
Neither is Worf, but he's not bothered by it. Anyway,
Right.
she calls Dax her daughter, and it's all. And he's like, "Now you can do it." And
I like when it fades to black, you just hear thunk, thunk, thunk,
Yeah,
thunk,
yeah.
thunk. Like they're just like taking the beating.
yeah, that's it for the episode. So, guys, wow, this was a lot of fun. Maybe one of my funnest takings of this episode so far. How about some quick little trivia and what can we learn from this episode that we didn't maybe know before? Let's just bring that up here. Aaron Eisenberg, who plays Nog, considered this to be his most stressful episode, considering the script called for his Ferengi character to participate in social dancing, and he had no idea how to do that convincingly. As it happened, Eisenberg improvised something suitable and was horrified the director wanted to focus on him dancing as opposed to simply being part of a crowd. Regardless, he performed his clumsy creation, and the whole cast and crew, plus the cast of Star Trek Voyager, invited to see the shooting, found it hilarious in a welcome fashion for the story, and it was decided to edit the scene for greater prominence.
So Aaron Eisenberg made up the Ferengi dancing. That's amazing.
Yeah, and he's like, I can do a little bit of this. And they're like, oh, we're putting that up front. We're putting that right on Front Street. Don't you worry, you know. There's also the saying that we find out that the Dax symbiote's like 356 years old, which means it was born in 2018. Not that long ago. So it's only 2 or 3, I guess 4 years old now. To ensure the right level of energy for the party scenes, director David Livingston staged an actual party, including live music. He did this because he meant the actors had to shout on set to be heard, which added an air of realism to the scene. Okay. The USS Sutherland was the ship that Lieutenant Commander Data captained in Star Trek The Next Generation episode Redemption 2, which was like that whole thing, you know. So interesting that Shelby got that command afterwards.
It has a racist commanding officer.
Executive officer.
Well, they had to replace that guy.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, he sucked.
Lieutenant Atoa performs traditional Hawaiian dancing during Dax's party. Atoa is played by Sydney S. Liafu, who is from Hawaii. Okay, so you're right, Hawaiian, not Fijian. The producers considered having the Enterprise crew from Star Trek.
Obviously.
Yes. They considered having the crew from Next Generation appear in non-speaking cameos as guests at Worf's wedding. Only Jonathan Frakes and LeVar Burton were available since they had offices on the Paramount lot. Since the entire crew were unavailable, the idea was dropped. I would have liked if they had thrown Riker and Geordi and just into the background and they never talk.
They're just in the background.
They're just extras.
No, it makes sense. Just not even as their characters.
Like they're their characters, but they don't ever talk. They're just there. They're just present for the wedding.
Yes, that makes no sense because they better friends to Worf, so they would have been on the path to Kalhaya instead of Bashir and probably Alexander.
Oh, that's funny because it's true.
Actually, I thought it would have been nice if they had thrown Worf's,
Alexander or Geordi.
I think it would have been nice if they had thrown Worf's adoptive parents into like the background or something like that, or had them present for the ceremony. But they didn't bring.
Well, the idea is that it was really quick, right?
Right.
Yeah.
What else do we got? J.G. Hertzler, who played Martok, and Shannon Cochran, who played Sorella, based their performances and their scene together on Benedict and Beatrice in Shakespeare's Much Ado About Nothing. This marks the final appearance of Alexander on Star Trek. We don't get another appearance of Alexander after this. This is his best episode.
No.
What is?
No,
the one before this.
Okay. This is second best episode for Alexander. Yeah. Terry Farrell felt
the one where he's on the ship.
Yeah. Oh, this one's good too. He's good in this too. I'd say they're a wash. They're both his best.
This episode, uniform alert, guys. This episode includes the first and only appearance of the modified dress uniform before switching to the dress whites introduced in Star Trek Insurrection. So that belt is a modified dress uniform that only lasted for a couple months.
On one person.
No, well, presumably O'Brien and Bashir had belts too. I just don't think we got to see them. We didn't get a lot of good shots of them. Like,
I guess.
So okay. What else? Terry Farrell felt she looked extremely
Not enough
awkward
belt
walking.
shots. It's getting a 9
belt
instead of a
shots.
10 from Dave now.
We'll see. Terry Farrell felt she looked extremely awkward walking down the aisle during the wedding ceremony. The boots on her costume didn't fit properly, and she didn't have time to get used to walking in them. There is a bit of a weird walk to her there. Yeah.
O'Brien didn't seem to mind.
No, he didn't mind. He was, I'll sell this. The chime to Worf's room on the Defiant is the same as
So you're
Picard's
saying
chime
these
in his
boots
ready
aren't made for walking?
That's what I'm saying. In this episode, it's revealed that Jedzia Dax's mother's name is Keela, and that Dax symbiote was 356 years old. It's also revealed that Curzon negotiated the Khitomer Accords, which is not to be confused with the Khitomer Conference of 2293, although fans often try to marry these two things together, despite no on-screen evidence to support the supposition. There you go. This is Shannon Cochran's only appearance
Or
in
the
General
Khitomer
Marquardt.
Massacre.
Yes. The working title of this episode was Once Upon a Wedding. Neither Nana Visitor nor Rene Auberjonois were happy with how the resolution between Kira and Odo was handled, with the actual reconciliation occurring off screen. Both felt it was deserving of more development given the relationship between the two. Ira Stephen Bear also admitted to dissatisfaction with that particular development, blaming it on last-minute rewrites.
I don't think they could figure out a way to do it.
They did. They could have taken more time with it. You know, like they didn't have to resolve it in the very next episode or try to. Oh, sorry, Davan. I didn't realize that banner's over your face. Yeah. So it's Apart from Alexander, no mention is made from either Jedzia or Worf's families attending the wedding. Worf's foster parents, the Rosenkos, were said to, in son and daughters, to still be in good health, and Jedzia is known to have parents and a sister. Again, last minute. Spoiler trivia. During the second take of the scene where Dax punches Cirilla, Terry Farrell accidentally punched her for real. O'Brien wonders why Worf and Dax's wedding is abruptly canceled when Quark tells him. His wedding to Keiko was also briefly called off at the beginning of Star Trek The Next Generation's Data's Day. And Worf and Dax become husband and wife at the end of this episode, but their marriage ends tragically at the end of the season.
We forgot that during the episode where they describe Worf and Jadzia, and O'Brien's like, well, the problem is they're both right.
Yeah.
Right? Like Worf is like this, I forget exactly what he says. She's like a free spirit and
he's on tradition and and protocol and whatever. Yeah, that they're opposites, but they also do really work well together. Okay, so let's rate this, guys. You were cordially invited. Oh, we got a message from Jeff. Yeah, I'm sick. Sorry, I forgot. I don't know if sickness makes you forget what day of the week it is, but it's okay.
And
Jeff,
wrong, you've decided.
Yes.
And don't forget the wrong part.
Okay, my rating for this episode. It's a 10.
That's a 10 for me, too.
Gavin? He's contemplating.
10.
This is we'll see if future ratings
10,
affect
10.
Yeah, but so this is now maybe the only perfectly rated episode. Oh no, we also gave Call to Arms a perfect 10. So this is going to make the top episodes now. Just quickly on what's the IMDb score of this episode? Sorry, I'm unprepared. 7.3. That low?
There are a lot of people that don't like this kind of episode.
Why?
I don't know. I like it. I don't understand those people.
Yeah.
But I know there are a lot of them.
I love this
There's
episode.
a lot of people that are joyless bastards. They're joyless people.
Yeah, that's the only explanation, I think. Okay, so guys, great rating. Glad we talked through with it. And the next episode,
they're probably Batman fans. Like,
well, come on, I like Batman too. But
like some Batman.
the next episode, guys, is called Resurrection. An alternate version of a Vedic Burial arrives in the mirror universe. Oh no. This is what comes next? Oh. Well,
yeah.
That's next week.
Well, it was a good run.
Yeah, so and I think that's like the
I'm
last
super busy next Tuesday night, fellas. Super.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh boy. Okay. Well, that's the one we're talking about next. But hey, let's remember that this was a great episode that we watched tonight and talked about. So I'm excited and
Borile, am I right?
Yeah. Oh, I like it. Well, it's like we'll talk about that next week. Like that episode. It's not for me. But it's okay. What should we talk about next, guys? Star Trek Enterprise, Monday nights, our ongoing podcast series where we go through each episode. The one we talked about was last night was called Cogenitor. Kevin and I were on opposite sides of the morality of the story. So I thought it was
both liked the episode.
Both liked it. We just we were critical of different characters for different reasons, I guess, overall, and the morality of it. But it was really interesting discussion. So check that out. And we'll be doing another Enterprise episode next week. I can't remember which one we're doing. Whatever comes after Cogenitor. And then
Jody said it was like the Borg one.
Oh, yeah, it's the Borg one. It's like the Borg Enterprise episode that we're doing next. Is it? I think it might also be called Resurrection or something like that.
No idea.
Is it? It might be. Like that'd be weird if we cover two episodes
It's
called
something about being
Resurrection.
unthawed because they pulled them out of the ice, right?
It's
Now I have to know. Are we covering two episodes with the same name in the same week? That would be amazing. Star Trek
Regeneration
instead of Resurrection. Okay. That's what we're doing next. So that's Enterprise. Star Trek Prodigy this Thursday will be on. Davan and I will be talking with Jessica Chan about the newest episode of Star Trek Prodigy, which I
Progeny.
That name. Yeah, that's been a really fun season so far. The next Prodigy episode is called Crossroads. Kevin, have you seen any of Prodigy yet?
Only the first episode. I've been meaning to watch it though.
Some interesting stuff going on with the
first
Delta
episode's
Quadrant.
the worst one.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it actually. I just never. I didn't keep watching for some reason.
Well, I recommend getting back into it. A lot going on with like a lot of characters we know are involved, and some new things are being revealed. So we'll be talking to that again. And then Star Trek Radio Theater is our ongoing series where we do like script plays, like reenactments of the Star Trek episodes. We did the Way to Eden back in September, and we just released the edited version of that not too long ago. We're also going to be recording a new version.
The fascists let it out of their iron grips.
Yeah. I created this great sequence with Kevin saying like "Space: The Final Frontier" with it being in the like in the Kirk style of the Star Trek the original series, and they're like, "No, you can't have this copyright." And these fascists telling me I can't have this. Like,
That's
come on,
clearly Patrick Stewart.
It should be public domain, if you ask me. A bunch of Herberts. Yeah. A bunch of Herberts, but it's out there, and if you listen to the audio version on our Spotify feed or whatever, you can hear that great intro with Kevin. And Davan, when are we recording that newest one? The one that's going to be like the Lower Decks comic books.
Well, we're gonna wait till that third issue to come out. So,
and then after that,
we'll try to set up a time everyone can make it after that.
Yeah. And then we're also going to be recording Star Trek V: The Final Frontier.
Row your boat, motherfuckers.
Yeah. So I'm gonna try to get the entire Live Long and Podcast family involved with that record as much as possible. So it's going to be great.
I'm the only Live Long and Podcaster who looks like Cybok. Just saying.
Who looks like? What does God need with a starship, though? So yeah, we'll get that whole cast together.
Show me your pain.
Yeah, I need my pain. I do like the idea of Michael Chan playing Uhura. I think we're probably going to do that. So check out all those great things on Live Long and Podcast. Locutors of Trek as well have ongoing debates, and that's this one. You know, what's the next Locutors edition? Do you know yet? No pressure.
It's a good question. Well, the next episode of the actual audio podcast is going to be the failures of Star Trek. That's been a long time coming. We'll get to it. There's probably a Debate 9 coming up. You want a Debate 9, Kevin?
Sure.
We should, throw in that subject
All
about
right.
the Cogenitor episode, and we'll really get into it. Oh, yeah, that'd be fun.
The problem is everybody but you would agree with me, Dave.
I don't know if that's necessarily true. It was just me, Jody, and Kevin talking about it.
Great thing
last
about
night.
Debate 9 is you're forced to debate things all the time. Jody always makes me debate against Worf. He thinks it's funny.
Yeah, that would be Jody. Also, you should check out all the great shows on the United Federation of Podcasts, including X-Rated, which they were just doing that interview tonight with the writer. I'm sure you get that one out. What's his name again? There's like a delay tonight.
Brooks Wachtel. That'll be out tomorrow. It was a great interview. Yeah, check it out. A lot of fun.
I will.
It's into the X-Men stuff and like I say, a lot of the insider animation TV stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah. Hold Up is on. Gonna be on tomorrow.
He's a member of the Magic Castle.
Yeah, I'm going to be on with you and Murphy tomorrow on Hold Up, talking about 3 dystopia-based movies, including Logan's Run, Gattaca, and Southland Tales. We're doing it's the other one. I need to cram these 3 movies in.
Yeah, Murphy and I aren't too happy with you right now, Dave.
Why? What'd I do? Why?
You made us watch Gattaca.
What's wrong with Gattaca?
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about that tomorrow. Tomorrow.
I thought it was good.
Tune in for that conversation, everybody.
Okay.
I'm just gonna be mad. Like I'm mad at Murphy. I haven't even watched that 2.5-hour rock movie yet, but I know that's gonna make me mad.
The Southland Tales?
So, tune in.
All right. And Kevin Smith's in it. Just remember that. Graphics History podcast coming very soon with Andre Mayette. Check that out. The Super Mater Brothers podcast on tomorrow. Jeff Mater and Jaemeel and Josh Foster. I hope, because I told them I'm doing Hold Up, so they're on their own for Survivor. I'm not showing up for Survivor, guys.
Wow.
So
Well,
I told them.
You're
So
welcome, sir.
will it happen? We'll see.
I said it.
And
He'll just leave. Hold Up. He's like, look, I gotta go. It's falling apart over there on Survivor.
No, I can't do that. And lastly, check out our other friends' shows like the Hellbound podcast with Alex Chan and Alex Blackburn, Michael Chan, as well as Let's Talk About Fighting Games. And lastly, of course, we got Trivial Debates coming up very soon, November 27th. Davan Skelhorn hosting with Chris Seymour, Jaemeel Robinson, and Raylan Forsyth competing in some great musical themed debates.
We're doing that at nighttime? Yeah, okay, good.
8:00 Eastern. Yes, we're doing that. So
I think
Seymour can be part of it. It's gonna be good. And on that note, we will.
Murphy was all like begging to be on that episode, and then he dropped out of it.
All right. Well, I think we'll leave you for tonight.
Oh, Graphic Histories is back on the 18th with the interview with John Russo, one of the co-writers of Night of the Living Dead. So check that out.
Oh, that's cool.
Nice.
Okay. I'm trying to figure what's the best quote to go out on, but I think that this one is maybe what sells it all. Okay. We'll see you next time, everybody, and live long and podcast.
4 nights at a Klingon bachelor party. Just think of the possibilities.
Oh, I will. See you next time, everybody.